so not in order that they appear. However, so Crystal Hall here is an associate professor of public policy and governance at the University of Washington. And because all these people agreed, we did give them superhero powers because they're doing this today early in the morning. And her superpower is the ability to engage laser focus, avoiding the myth of multitasking. So very good superpower. Next up, we have Matt Wallaert, who's the founder of bside.io and the author of the book Start at the End, which you may be able to win a copy of today. And his superpower is bridging everything you say into song lyrics. It's a pretty good one to have, and we'll see if he uses it today. Next up, we have Jeff Lee. So Jeff's an associate research scholar at Princeton University, and his superpower is the ability to misspell something no matter how many times he proofreads it. I think we have the same superpower here, yep. And finally, we have Anirudh Tiwathia, my colleague here at the Center for Behavior and the Environment, so one of the behavioral scientists at RARE that you can see at the behavior bar. And his superpower is thriving in extreme heat and daydreaming about experimental methods. So perfect. Welcome, contestants. So for everyone here, if it's your first Prove It game show, the reason why we do this, we could keep doing session after session of teaching you things, but we think it's a bit more funny to put experts on the spot and have them answer questions very quickly about different behavioral insights, that we'll be covering later today. So what we're going to be doing is asking these great minds to explain different behavioral principles from our BCD levers framework in about 60 seconds. And they have to do this without using any jargon. So we'll see how everyone does this. So we have a few steps to go through. First, we needed to convince these great minds to participate in this today. So they've finally agreed to come on the stage. So we've done the first step. And then the next round is going to be that we ask them questions. I read very brief statements about different behavioral insights, different behavioral interventions, and we ask them to explain this insight or to prove it with a study, with a case study, with knowledge that they have about this insight. So we're going to give everyone here 60 seconds to do that. Once that's done, I, as the grand overlord, will decide if we've proved it or not. And if not, someone else can jump in and extend the answer with another answer of their own for another 60 seconds. So this is what we'll be doing. Everyone has a buzzer. The first person to press the buzzer will be the person that I give the answer to initially. Everyone's all set? Perfect. So pay close attention, everyone, because at the end of the game, you'll all be in charge, and we will be voting on who you think the best genius, the most benevolent genius here was for the game. So the winner, the winner will not receive anything that's a material incentive, will not receive any information, will not receive any rules and regulations, but they'll receive eternal fame. So that's pretty good.
Until next year.
Until next year, yes. Yeah. Well, actually, it's every 2 years, so we'll be good. So without further ado, let's begin. Contestants, please remember to wait until I say the word prove it before you press the button. Everyone's all set? Perfect. So first up, we're going to cover this principle where we ask people, or actually we try to induce behavior change by using timely moments and prompts. Prove it.
So
Anirudh?
I can actually talk about a study I ran about influential people's tax compliance. And one of the things that we found was that if you can hit them right when they're about to file their taxes and share information about where their taxes go, you can start increasing the amount of voluntary compliance that they would have. Now, this is something that you all know. You might have probably heard the phrase, the diet begins at the grocery store. So if you want people to reduce the amount of consumption they're doing, you probably want to hit them at the point where they're making the consumption decision. The same is true for food waste. If you want to reduce food waste, you probably need to help people before they go to the grocery store figure out what they're going to buy. And so making sure you hit the information or intervention at the right time is absolutely essential. I'm going to give you 18 seconds back.
Whew.
Yeah.
Very good job here. what I'm going to do is open the floor to everyone else for an environmental example, if you have one. Oh, come on, we can get this. No? I'll give you that one. It's been proven. Perfect. So the next up, I'm going to ask everyone to share some insights about how we can induce behavior change by helping people build confidence or making it easier to engage in a specific target behavior. Prove it.
I was expecting more of a rush on that. So I'm a social psychologist, and so I think a lot about how the presence of other people influences our behavior. And one area that I've studied and has been studied around the field is the idea of self-affirmation. And this idea that especially when you're dealing with people that are in contexts where they might be experiencing some kind of psychological threat. So that can be about stigma, that can be about another type of threat, is that if you give them an opportunity to engage in an exercise to just reaffirm their sense of self, that helps build confidence, that helps build motivation for people to engage in behaviors that they might otherwise avoid. And so in my own work, I've shown this looking at behaviors where we want people to engage in positive financial behaviors, but it's been shown in a wide range, including health and other spaces as well. 8 seconds.
8 seconds, great. I would say that we've proved it. Perfect. So the next one, that's a favorite of mine. We use it a lot at Rare. We're going to ask, how do we induce behavior change by making the target behavior more observable to others? Prove it.
Oh, this is a favorite of mine. There's a, so I want to introduce you to a term that no one uses, called FOBCO, fear of being called out. So I hope you will now start using this. Making it observable makes it possible for your reputation to become entangled with whether or not you adopt the behavior, right? So if other people can see whether I'm doing it, then my reputational concerns will help motivate me to do it. And one of the best studies for this comes out of California, where they were trying to induce people to reduce AC usage at peak hours, and they tried to pay them, and that didn't work very well. And so they ran this great study where they had a sign-up sheet in the lobby, and they either could allow people to sign up with a random number, a random account number, or with their name. And what they found was that when people's names were visible to their neighbors for signing up, they were much more likely to be voluntarily, or not so voluntarily because of FOBCO, willing to reduce their AC consumption during peak hours. So there you go.
Perfect. So I'm going to extend the statement a little bit and reopen it to the floor. But one way you can make things observable is also by sharing information about norms to other people. So does anyone want to complement that?
Yeah, so I would complement that by first saying it's important to make sure that we're aware of the visible identities, and all of these things are especially effective when we see people that look like us, and the social norms become more powerful. And then also drawing from Robert Cialdini's work, who talks a lot about descriptive norms. That's almost jargony. I'm going to stop. I won't get more jargony. But this idea that our behaviors are, when we are looking at behaviors of other people, we are very moved by what we see others doing, and also by what we know that we ought to do. And so when those two things are lined up, when we believe we ought to engage in some behavior, and we see that other people are doing it, and if they look a lot more like us, those work together to help generate behavior change.
10 seconds to go. I think we've proved it. Perfect. Now we're going to take a little turn here, and we're going to go with attention strategies. So choice architecture, which we've covered earlier. And I'm going to ask, how do we induce behavior change by directing or redirecting attention to other variables that matter? So, can everyone prove it?
So, yes, attention matters. And very often people are engaging in behaviors in situations that are incredibly complex. And so we know that it's important to not only be timely, but just to be aware of the other forces that are going on. And so if we can have an understanding of what some of the background noise is, that can help us think about the best way to focus behavior. And so sometimes that's about using these mental shortcuts. It's hard to avoid in jargon, by the way. Sometimes it's about finding the mental shortcuts that will engage people. Sometimes it's about finding ways to induce certain emotions to try to create behavior change, to try to smooth some of the barriers that we see in those contexts. I'll stop there. Maybe get some backup.
7 seconds. Get some backup. Oh.
So one of the things we have to be careful of, though, is when we're thinking about directing or redirecting attention, we don't always want people to pay attention to things, and it varies depending on how busy you are. Your brain has a limited amount of resources, and when those resources are constricted, when we don't have enough of them, sometimes we don't want people to focus on things. There's a lovely study where we're trying to get people who are a little bit drunk to have safer sex. So when they go into a bar, we put a little stamp that says, AIDS kills. And it actually turns out that people who are drunk are more likely to have safer sex after that stamp than people who are sober. Why? Because their cognitive resources are restricted. So when we think about directing attention, we have to be thoughtful about what environment someone's is. Are they busy? Are they drunk? Are they trying to do something else? We don't always want people to have something at the forefront of their attention. Sometimes we want that automatic behavior because it's a pretty good behavior.
And there's 7 seconds to go. Perfect. So I will ask one last one here, and we'll see how easily we can get through it. So, take another turn. Can someone prove how we can leverage specific emotions to change behavior? I'll let one person answer, and that will be it. Oh, wow!
So there's a lot of really good research in the environmental domain, both on the positive and negative, God, that's frightening, negative emotion side, right? So highlighting anger around sort of deforestation or biodiversity loss, but also highlighting pride. And there's a lot more research going on now, the specifics of which don't come to mind exactly, but I promise it's happening, that positive emotions, getting people excited about environmentalism, recognizing that pride comes from engaging in behavior that's aligned with your values, is also a really powerful lever, in addition to things like anger and rage and lack of action on climate change. I'll give you a whole 25 seconds back.
Perfect. And I'll say we proved it. Amazing. So with that, we come to audience participation. And actually audience voting. So I'm going to ask everyone to scan the QR code here or to go to menti.com and enter the code that you see on the screen. And what I'm going to ask everyone is in 60 seconds to vote for who you think the winner is today.
There are no rules.
Yeah. I'm glad I took the hosting gig, not the participant gig. We'll try that in 2 years. Crowding out your other motivators. 5 seconds, everyone. So I think we're set, and our winner is
See, I feel like I told you it was the first. I called this early.
So a big congratulations to Crystal, and thank you everyone for participating in Prove It, the Beehive Game Show. So a round of applause for all of our contestants.